Okay guys, that Random Comic Fan 10 here, and today I will be comparing the version of Quicksilver that appeared in Age of Ultron from Marvel, Disney, and the version of Quicksilver that appeared in Days of Futures Past from the X-Men franchise. Now, these movies were both great for the character, because as most of you Marvel fans will already know, Quicksilver has been an X-Man and an Avenger at some point in time. Now, let's start with their introduction in each movie. Now, in Age of Ultron, or should I say Captain America the Winter Soldier, as that's the first movie where Quicksilver made an appearance. In the after credit scene, Quicksilver, being played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is seen alongside his sister, played by Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, and they are captives of Baron Stryker. In Age of Ultron, we later learn they both volunteered themselves for experimenting to Hydra to save their country. Now, this is not the traditional origin story for the character. This is a combination of the company's own writing and various other alternate universe comic books, but I'll get into that later. Now on to the Days of Future Past origin story, which at this time Quicksilver is already kind of established, so he doesn't really have an origin story in Days of Futures Past. The movie does contain a tongue-in-cheek reference that basically says that he is a son of Magneto. So going by that, it can be assumed that his origin story is probably pretty close to the original comics. I will also be posting an origin story as I go through some more of the Marvel superheroes below, so if you'd like to know that, just request it and I'll try to get it out as fast as possible. So which one of them had more story or substance as a character? Evan Peters, who portrayed Quicksilver in Days of Futures Past, had maybe about 4 scenes. His character was used in the breakout scene, while in Age of Ultron, Quicksilver was just about in the entire movie, up until about the end. But as I see it, it wouldn't be really fair to compare this, because Quicksilver was one of the main, or at least intended to be, one of the main parts of Age of Ultron, whereas in Days of Futures Past, he was just kind of there in a few scenes, just to satisfy the fans. So now on to which one was better, the moment we've all been waiting for. Now, spoiler alert. Okay, so in the ending of Age of Ultron, Quicksilver sacrifices his life to save Hawkeye and ends up dying, which is probably one of the biggest fails with his character development. This was like our first movie really seeing Quicksilver and introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Quicksilver has been a fan favorite for years. Not trying to blame Joss Whedon for anything. I'm a big fan of his work, he does great, but it seems like he does have the need to try to kill off more important characters. Maybe the choice wasn't made by him. As you said, the decision to kill off Coulson in the first Avengers movie, it wasn't his. But if they wanted to add more emotion to Avengers 2, it would have been a better decision to kill off Hawkeye. We've seen him for about almost 2 movies now. We've gotten time to grow and build with the character. He's got a family, so it overall just would have been a better choice to kill off Hawkeye instead of Quicksilver. And because he was killed off so early, and we didn't have time to build with him as a character, by the ending of the movie, we didn't really care. After I walked out of Age of Ultron, I completely forgot that Quicksilver was in the movie. And if they had planned to kill him off in the first movie anyways, then it makes him seem like he was only there purposely to play second fiddle to who the Marvel Cinematic Universe really wanted, Scarlet Witch. Now, in Days of Futures Past, the character and the development of Quicksilver was spot on. Personality, the fight scene was awesome, but that we saw in Days of Futures Past was not in most of the movie. For example, in Age of Ultron, we saw the character throughout the entire movie, which has its flaws, but I'll get into that in a minute. The only real complaint with the one in Days of Futures Past, though, is substance. For example, there are ways that they could have went with this. They could have had a Star Wars-like scene. Have Magneto be all like, "Hey, guess what? I'm your dad." He's like, "Really? I want to come with you guys now." And then we could have had more of Quicksilver in Days of Futures. I feel like if they had done that, it still would have felt natural. In Age of Ultron, for me at least, it seems like Quicksilver is kind of forced in, because they wanted Scarlet Witch as a character. And back on the part where I said that we saw him throughout the entire movie, well, we kind of saw him the entire movie. Quicksilver was basically treated the same way Hawkeye was in the first Avengers movie. He spent the first 2 acts of the movie about being a villain, and then decided to come around during the 3rd act, which makes the character lose so much development. I feel like the writing for that just could have been slightly better. So then we could have grown with him as a character, and then, when he reaches death, we would have actually felt a little emotion. So, overall, for which Quicksilver portrayal I think was best, I'm going to have to go with Evan Peters from X-Men Days of Futures Past. Perfect portrayal on the character, and I would really like to see more of him in future X-Men projects. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Please tell me your thoughts down below. That Random Comic Fan 10 out.